Time in South Africa, and that of course means many people will be soaking up the sun. But we shouldn't forget that being in the sun for extended periods of time without protection can actually lead to the development of skin cancer. And our next guest, Dr Janine Ellenberger, has a family history with melanoma and has researched this quite extensively, and also knows what works to keep yourself protected while you're enjoying and having some fun in the sun. So let's speak to Dr. Ellenberger. Thanks so much for coming through.
Thank you so much for having me on the show.
So first and foremost, your story, because you have a family history and you are quite passionate, as I read, about young people especially knowing and understanding the dangers of exposure to the sun and the consequences thereof. So just tell us briefly about that.
So I grew up in Bloemfontein, and when I did my residency here in Johannesburg, my father was diagnosed with a melanoma. Being young and in med school, I found that very interesting. He was quite young at the stage. And then a few years later, my sister, in her early 20s, was diagnosed with a melanoma. I then had two little boys, both with red hair, and we moved to Miami for a few years. And when I arrived on the shores of Miami, it was just sun. So I was really concerned about what products I was putting on my kids' skin in order to protect them against the sun, and started researching sunscreens and was looking for a sunscreen that didn't have a whole lot of harmful ingredients in it. So I then decided to make a sunscreen that would protect their skin but not compromise the skin's barrier function at the same time.
So we're talking about melanoma, but what exactly is that to people who haven't heard that term before?
So melanoma is one type of skin cancer. There are three kinds. You get basal cell cancer, squamous cell cancer, and then melanoma is the one that infiltrates and penetrates and can spread throughout the body and cause death. The other two are more superficial skin cancers. They can be unsightly, but they very rarely cause death. Melanoma is the dangerous one.
Okay, and the beauty of TV is, of course, we can actually get the visuals up and just take a look at, you know, some of these different types of melanoma. And maybe as we put them up, if you could, Dr. Ellenberger, just talk to us, explain to us exactly what they are. And I know we actually do have them, so let's just take a look. So if you can just talk us through these.
So as you see, the top left is a melanoma. That generally either presents in a dark pigmented spot or a mole, and you will see in that one how it has the color, the pigmentation has spread around the periphery of the actual lesion. Or you're basically looking for four things: A, B, C, D. Asymmetry, which you will see most of those lesions are not perfect circles or perfect ovals. Then you're looking for the borders are irregular or jagged or raised, but they're not symmetrical borders. The third thing is color change. So you will see that all of those have multiple colors within them: brown, tan, dark black. And then the last thing is size. Anything that extends beyond 6 millimeter in size, you need to be cautious about. So the melanoma, the top left, is the one that is the most dangerous. The basal cell carcinoma on the top right is very common. People get it on their faces, their hands, their arms, in sun-exposed areas. Squamous cell carcinoma is slightly more dangerous than basal cell. The actinic keratosis is your precancerous skin lesion. It's when you run your hand over your skin or your face and you feel this little rough kind of skin. That's generally actinic keratosis, which is a precancerous skin condition. And then the two beneath are your, they're also, again, your precancerous things. But the thing to really look for is that top left-hand one, the melanoma.
All right, and you know, as people head out into the sun, in terms of preventative measures that can be taken, Dr. Ellenberger, skincare ranges, what exactly can people look out for?
So the first thing you want to do is find a sunscreen that gives you broad spectrum ultraviolet protection. So ultraviolet rays are proven human carcinogens, and there are two, UVA and UVB. UVA are the long rays. They're around 365 days of the year. So one needs to protect against them 365 days of the year, not just in the summer. The UVB rays are medium-length rays. They're warmer, they're hot. You feel them, you burn from them, you get red and suntan from them. So we tend to put sunscreen on to protect ourselves against them. You're looking for a sunscreen that's got ingredients that protect against both. I personally prefer the non-chemical ingredients, so something like zinc oxide or titanium dioxide. They lie on the surface of the skin, reflect the sun's rays, and don't enable the sun's rays to penetrate and damage the skin. With a good sunscreen, you should also have antioxidants in your sunscreen, because antioxidants neutralize the free radicals, which cause inflammation, which cause cancer, and they result from the sun. It's very interesting that a lot of countries are now banning a lot of the chemical sunscreens because they damage the coral reef. So things like oxybenzone and octinoxate, they've been banned in Hawaii and Mauritius because they are destroying our coral reefs. So
that's very interesting.
So ingredients are very important.
Yeah, but there's also a myth about people with darker skins and, you know, applying sunscreen and actually developing skin cancer.
Well, what did Bob Marley die from? He died from skin cancer, and the more melanin you have, the more protection you have. But when you do get skin cancer, it's a far more aggressive type because you have the cells to make it aggressive. So everybody should protect themselves against skin cancer. And the incidence in younger people is increasing. It's the #1 cancer in women under the age of 30 years old.
Wow.
And the largest cancer in the world. And South Africa has the second highest incidence of melanoma in the world, second to Australia.
Well, you know, that is scary. But just a final question. What advice do you have for people, especially people who saw the visuals there and think they recognize something on their own skin from what they saw here this morning? What should they do?
Go and see their dermatologist or their GP. And then they will biopsy, they will do a test on it to see what it is and, if necessary, treat it. And then stay out of the sun between 10 in the morning, 4 in the afternoon. Use your sunscreen when you wake up in the morning. Reapply. Sunscreen is only good for 2 hours. Reapply 2 hours later, specifically now when the sun's rays are so hot in the summer in South Africa. Sunscreen and protective clothing and a hat and sunglasses, because that stops the rays, because we also tend to get melanoma in the back of the eye. So wear your sunglasses and your sun hat and your sunscreen.
Okay, thank you so much for coming through, and I'm hoping we'll all adhere to that. Thanks to Dr. Janine Ellenberger talking to us about what products we could possibly use to prevent skin cancer. And remember, even darker skin tones are prone to skin cancer. I'm going to take a break, and when we come back, another heartbreaking story.